During my college years, I used to participate in lots of sports activities. Playing basketball used to be the most favorite game for me. I had played it previously in high school as well. I had a good relationship with one of my coaches, who happened to be the strength and conditioning coach at my college. He played a crucial role in my improvement. He used to tell me that I could use the weight room whenever I wanted during free lectures. After my first year of college, I took advantage of this offer. The weight room was open from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., with no classes during that time. I had just a month left at my college. During the first week of that month, I worked out every day at 10 a.m. in the weight room. It was great to have it entirely to myself, and I didn't have to pay for a gym membership either. However, during my second week of working out, I encountered an unexpected situation. That was something that shook me badly and had a terrible effect on my mental health after that. Just 10 minutes into my workout, I heard over the school intercom that we were going under lockdown. At first, I thought it to be some kind of drill, but it didn't stop, and I started hearing loud thuds outside the room. They sounded like gunshots, or something like a rifle. Uncertain about what to do, as nobody was supposed to leave or enter the building, and being a non-student, I wasn't sure how many people knew I was there. Because I was using the weight room beside my study hours, it was probable that no one knew that I was there. Deciding to continue lifting, I kept going for maybe 20 minutes. Everything was silent except for the sounds of the weights I was using. At this point, I got conscious and tried to be quieter, but then I started to hear noises as if somebody was approaching the door. I stopped what I was doing and looked over to the doorway. I was at the opposite end of the weight room, which didn't have the greatest lighting, with lots of machines and weights in the way. I moved over to look around at one of the machines and saw the door open. It wasn't the coach, it was just some guy in a sweatshirt that I didn't recognize. He did look young, and when I saw a rifle in his hand, the floor below my feet slid away. At this point, I knew that it was probably a student going rogue. He was pointing it forward, trying to find someone. Luckily, he didn't see me and walked straight to the other end of the weight room. I was terrified, so I slowly backed away to the corner of the room and hid behind another machine. The guy walked around the other end for a bit, and then I heard him walking closer to the end of the weight room that I was at. Hiding in the corner, there was an emergency exit door in the back of the weight room, only about 50 feet away from where I was. I wanted to go outside, thinking that might cause the fire alarm to go off, but I wasn't entirely sure. Unfortunately, I heard the guy walking closer and in the direction of the door. I thought for a moment the guy was going to leave, making me feel better, but then he walked right past the door towards me. I really couldn't see much and was trying my hardest not to move a muscle. All I could do was listen. I heard him walking closer, step by step. He was about 15 feet in front of me when he reached the same area of the weight room as me. Feeling like I could make it if I ran for it, I took a deep breath and then got out from behind the machine and ran for the door. The man started to turn around, and he was surprised to see me as he didn't expect. I saw him pointing the rifle at me and heard two fast, loud bangs right after each other. I looked away and focused straight on the door. When I got there, I shoved it open, and I heard the fire alarm start to sound. I ran outside and around the building, all the way until I got to my car. I drove off, and luckily, I didn't get hit when I ran out of the door. It was a Monday morning, and everyone was tired and couldn't pay attention on the lecture. And the main reason for that was that it was the last day before spring break, so everyone's focus was on the break. All of a sudden, everyone jumped on their seats when the lockdown alarm went off. And immediately after that, the principal's voice came over the speakers. He explained that it was not a drill. Everyone's mood and expressions changed, and I could feel the shift of emotions in the room, from happiness to fear. I did what I was supposed to do. I showed the kids of my class to the corner of the room, turned off the lights, closed the blinds, and locked the door. It was the first time lockdown had happened at our school for real. So every one of us was really nervous about what will happen next. I told the kids to be quiet and that this was serious. I told them that we couldn't fool around, and they all understood. Not one of the kids made a sound. Suddenly, I could hear banging on the lockers and doors in the hallway, coming from farther down. The bang got closer and closer to the classroom until it was right outside the door. I began to panic. I didn't want to believe what was happening was even real. Everyone's life was in danger, and I was in charge of the health and safety of those kids in my classroom. Whoever was outside started to bang on the door and began to yell, "Let me in! Let me in! Please let me in!" At the same time, I told him to go away, and that's when he began to try the door handle. When the handle wouldn't budge, the man became very angry and started to yell, banging the door, kicking the door, grabbing the door, and doing anything to get into the classroom. I grabbed a book that was next to me and a pair of scissors in case the man managed to get through. I thought I would at least have a better chance with these. I felt helpless, and the fate of everyone in the classroom was in the hands of that door. He was kicking the door real hard, and I thought it was about to give out any second. We made sure to barricade the door with all the desks in the classroom, so that gave us an extra layer of security. The man outside was throwing his entire body into the door to get it open. With every hit, I could feel the gates of life closing slower and slower. Then, a violent attempt to break the door open banged against it, and the desks holding the door began to tremble. When I looked at the door, I saw that its lock was broken and the man had enough space to get his arm inside, through the door. I, along with few other students, tried to keep him out. While doing it, I saw his face. He was trying to get his head inside the classroom through the slightly opened door. His head was all bloody, as if he was banging on the door with his head. His eyes were popping out with anger, and he had really creepy expressions all over his face. He was looking right at me and banging his head violently against the door. Desks and few of us were the only things holding him outside the class. Just when I thought he was going to jump in, the man stopped. I heard another voice from behind him told him to leave it and they have to go. After that, he stopped and stood there for some time looking at us all through slightly open door. And then as he disappeared from my view, I heard 2 pairs of footsteps run down the hallway, down the stairs, and out one of the school doors. I couldn't describe the relief I felt. I was so thankful that the door didn't give in. They never ended up catching the student. School was cut short that day, and everyone ended up going home. I heard from a few people that the guys got into the school pretending to be parents picking up their kids. That's when one of the people at the front desk noticed that a man had a knife in his pocket when they were walking away. That's when a lockdown was called, and the men began to run around the school, trying to get into any room they could. No one was injured during the lockdown, and I think the main reason was that the police were able to respond in just over 7 minutes. Unfortunately, they were too late to catch them because the sound of the siren scared them off. From there on forward, we've had more strict security at the school to ensure nothing like this will ever happen again. I just get a little uneasy sometimes when I'm at that school, knowing that I could have been killed right there. Back in 2016, I went through a terrible trauma when my school went into a terrifying lockdown. I was in my senior year, and it was the last week of school, so everything was kind of relaxed at that point. My friend, who we all used to call Adrian, bunked a class with me, and we were just chilling in my car in the parking lot. One of our friends, Caleb, who was in the lunchroom, texted Adrian to come and have lunch. Adrian and I started walking back to the school. I still remembered that I had to throw my half cigarette to go in. Anyhow, as we were about to enter through one of the back doors of the school by the gym room, Caleb texted me, saying the school was going into lockdown, and he was right. As we entered through the still unlocked back door, we noticed the red lockdown lights flashing in the hallway, and all the sirens went loud. We walked through the empty hall carefully, as this was the quieter section of the school with less foot traffic because it was far from the regular classrooms. I was texting Caleb, continuously asking him what was going on and if it was just a drill. Adrian and I stood in the hallway, waiting for an answer. My friend Caleb texted back, saying, "Run away and hide," and I could see his typing status up in the chat, which meant he was typing something. I sat under a table for a minute waiting for his message, and suddenly he went offline. He didn't send a second text after that. I sent him 3 question marks. I didn't really know what to do. The main hallway lights were shut off, and all that lit up the halls were the backup lights and the red flashing lockdown lights. There were no teachers anywhere to tell us what to do, so we just sat there in the hallway. We tried opening the doors to the auditorium, but they had already been locked. Adrian then tapped my shoulder and pointed down the hallway. All the way down, there was someone dressed in black, standing down the hallway, with a gun in his hand, looking right at us. All of a sudden, he started moving and speed walking down the hall in our direction. At first, it looked like a teacher, but as he got closer, we realized he was wearing some kind of white mask. Adrian and I started walking backward instinctively in response to what we now perceived to be a threat. As he got even closer, we could confirm it was a mask on his face, and it was this horrifying, disgusting mask of some pale, rotting-like face. I'd never seen anything so creepy at any Halloween stores or anything. The man was now too close for comfort, and the way he was approaching us was full of aggression. Adrian and I turned and started running back towards the gym room, hoping the gym teacher, Mr. Miles, would be in there to let us in. We got to the door, which was locked, and started pounding on it, but we didn't have time to wait. Adrian and I split up to hide. I hid in one of the closets. I didn't know where Adrian went after that. I turned the light in the closet off and hid behind a big container. There was a big glass window in the door to the closet, through which I could see into the hall. I heard footsteps approaching from outside, so I hid myself completely behind the container and bent my head behind it. I only peeked at the window and looked up after the footsteps had stopped for a while. I assumed that the view must be clear by now, but it was not. The footsteps stopped because the man in the mask was standing at the door, looking in through the glass. I ducked back down, hoping he didn't see me, and then the closet door creaked open. After some time, he closed the door of the closet as he heard something from the other direction. Then, I heard his footsteps quickly walk away. I took out my phone to text Adrian to see if he was all right. He told me that he was hiding in my car in the parking. I thought it might be a great idea, so took my chance when I had a clear vision of the hallway, so I got out from the back door and got in my car as well. I drove it away in front of the school and sat there as the cop cars swarmed the place. At least 10 officers entered the building. The school was let out early, with police escorting the kids out. As they got out, we got to know the tragic news of Caleb's death, which left us all in a trauma. 5 more of our friends died that day in a shootout. Some were stabbed as well. The school shooters were also escorted out and arrested.